Billions of pounds being spent on illegal migrants, and it would seem that sometimes they don't even know where that money was going. Now, I was going to do a non-political video purely on law yesterday, but I ran out of time, so that will come later today. So bear with me and do subscribe if you like both content on law and on news and politics, because news and politics actually does affect you in a legal sense, because this is all to do with law. It's law in a very different sense. So I'll be really grateful if you do subscribe. So what are we talking about here? So yet again, Rupert Lowe MP is taking the government to task and holding them account and trying, at the very least, very hard to force them to come up with information about where this money is being spent. He says, "I'm concerned that the Home Office is hiding behind contracts in order to conceal the true amount being spent on illegal migrants. This is how it's being funded, but my requests for transparency on the contracts are denied." Let's take a look at what he's talking about. I'm sure he won't mind me reproducing this letter here so you can all see it. I'm sure he'd be pleased that you can all see what he's trying to do here. So he writes, "I'm concerned that the cost and the detail around the accommodation and upkeep of illegal migrants is being withheld from the British public." And that encapsulates perfectly why I'm doing these videos for you, even if it is in a Christmas sweater. But I do these videos for you because you, the British people watching this, and indeed international viewers that are interested in what's going on here, I know Elon Musk is interested in what's going on here, you deserve to know the truth. And so this is holding the government accountable. So he says that he's concerned that the detail is being withheld from the British public. "Repeatedly, as you know," he says, "I've asked for your department for answers. Very few have been forthcoming. I am often told the Home Office does not directly pay for such services, or I'm directed to look at the contracts myself. So this is what I did." Now, this takes time. Believe me, this takes time to sit down and read through contracts and digest them and understand what's going on and then formulate questions and put them to paper. He says, "Having examined just one of the regional contracts worth over £1 billion used to care for illegal migrants, I sent a number of written questions to your department asking for more detail, all of which had specific references in the contract and related documentation. This information is reported to the department. Contract start date of 2019, ending 2029. A breakdown of material subcontractors for the contract, previously redacted. Estimate of social tensions incidents reported. Translation and interpretation costs. Costs of taxis and other public transport. Healthcare and dental costs and number of GP and dental appointments. Cost of food vouchers, breakdown of service used by sex and age, number of call-outs for reactive maintenance services, amounts of cash given to service users as emergency measure, costs of legal advice provided to users, number of violent and aggressive incidents, number of arrests and enforcement notices, number of antisocial incidents, costs of refurnishing and redecorating, costs of recreational activities, and a copy of all information packs provided to service users. As stated, all of those requests are based on details provided in the contract. Your response? The Home Office does not hold the information sought in those questions at the level of granularity requested." Now, just pausing there, I would say, well, why not? Because if you're spending over £1 billion, you really ought to know where that money is going on a granular level. It goes on. "Collating and verifying the information for the purposes of answering these questions could only be done at disproportionate cost." Now, pausing again there. So what the response is saying, collecting and verifying that information for the purposes of answering the question could only be done at a disproportionate cost. But that is information that they should be keeping anyway. If they are spending all this money, they should know where it's going. It should be as simple as click a button to export a spreadsheet, which should already have that information on it. Alas, it goes on. And would also require the exclusion of any commercially sensitive material. Now, commercially sensitive material shouldn't really come into play when this is public money being spent on government decisions and policies. It should be transparent. Now, there might be some elements of commercially sensitive material in, whether they get beneficial arrangements with companies, because obviously a company that's providing services to and on behalf of the government might be giving preferential rates, and they might not want that out in the public domain. I understand that. But at the very least, there should be a record of what was spent on these services, even if the redactions include the names of the companies to protect commercially the sensitive information, to protect the interests of those entities. But that's obviously far too complex for them to think about. With the cost of this contract, Rupert goes on, one of many similar exceeding £1 billion, providing some transparency around its detail to the taxpayers' funding is not disproportionate, in my view, and I agree with him. I don't think it's disproportionate. I think it should be kept anyway. I think they should have that information anyway. And even if they didn't, I don't think it's disproportionate to be transparent with the British public about where this money is going. He goes on, offering more detail around these contracts worth billions and billions of pounds used to house illegal migrants should be an obvious step on the path to good and transparent government. I hope you'll consider my requests. I'm simply asking for the data. Show it to the British people, then they can make their own minds up. Many thanks and Merry Christmas, he says. Now, there is a further potential criticism here, and that is, are they hiding where a lot more of this money is going? More about that in just a moment. On another note, many people have contacted me over the years with problems with their mobile phone contracts, such as terms and conditions, charges they didn't expect, and in particular when travelling abroad. And so for that reason, I'm very pleased to partner with a company called Saley, who provides eSIM data seamlessly in over 100 countries wherever you travel in the world. You download the app, you buy a plan, you activate it before you arrive, and then you get seamless internet access when you arrive. No funny charges, no unexpected bills, just seamless access to the internet. And because Saley is brought to you by Nord Security, it comes with built-in features such as ad blockers, web protection, and a virtual location. So it will protect you from all sorts of scams and intrusive networks when you're traveling around in unfamiliar territory to prevent you from falling victim to certain types of scams online. Now, I tested Saley with my son traveling abroad this year and compared it to the previous time he traveled abroad and had all sorts of problems with the mobile phone provider which was attached to my account. They wouldn't activate roaming despite telling me that it was active, and then they insisted on sending a code to his phone when he was abroad, which he couldn't receive because it wasn't active, and they just couldn't seem to see the dilemma that put me in. Eventually, after about an hour or so on this text chat thing, they did activate it, but with Saley, the second time round, it was absolutely seamless. He had connection upon arrival and still had strong signal and data from the middle of an Icelandic glacier. So not only is this seamless internet access in over 180 countries with security and ad blockers built in with predictable fees that you know exactly what you're going to pay, you also get a discount because they're a partner to my channel. So you'll get 15% off any plan you buy with the code BlackBeltBarrister. And you don't need to pay anything straight away. Just download the app so that it's ready for the next time you go on holiday or you travel abroad for work, and you'll know exactly what you're spending. One of my viewers even said that they are saving a huge amount every month right now just because they downloaded Saley, and they live in another country. So this was cheaper than the local provider. So download Saley today. Don't forget the Black Belt Barrister discount code, which will be easy to remember. You'll get 15% off any plan, and you'll thank me when you're traveling around the world. Now, this just shows to me that a huge amount of spending, that they are either not keeping the data, which is worthy of criticism in and of itself because they should be keeping the data, or they just refuse to collect and collate that data and make it public, whereas they should do, and they are saying it's a disproportionate cost. So the billions of pounds spent doing this doesn't warrant the additional cost of collecting the data. How can you possibly measure? Now, this has been one criticism of government. How can one possibly run a system spending billions of pounds without proper accountability, measuring and checking what's being spent, where and how, and whether it's good value for money? How can you possibly not collect that data? A business cannot survive and grow and flourish. I'm very pleased to say I haven't always been successful in everything I've ever done, by the way, but I am pleased to say that I've been in business for many, many years. I've been, in some sense, in business since I was 12 when I was playing music, but properly since I was 16, 17, way back when, building websites. Now, I had to account and keep track of all my costs and everything for decades. And without doing that, a business is not successful. How can you run a successful economy and public service sectors spending billions of pounds without keeping track of that data? Now, back to the question of, are they hiding from the British public where much of this money is being spent? Well, I give you the illegal migration debate. This is what we call Hansard. If you're not familiar with what this is, every word is accounted for on what we call Hansard. All the debates, every word are as accurately as possible transcribed into this record here. It's a record of everything said in Parliament. And this is a debate from the 10th of September 2024 on illegal migration. And let's jump to the bit, and I thank in advance, Connor Tomlinson here for pointing this out. The preface to this reference from Connor was, what is in response to Rupert Lowe? What's also concerning Rupert is Yvette Cooper's intent to hide asylum costs by allowing illegal migrants to have full access to the welfare system. This will cost an extra 17.8 billion on top of the 14.4 billion asylum budget in 2023, revealed by Angela Jenkins in May. Now let's look at this debate and look at the bit that was quoted. So jumping in the middle, I'll try to link this. I'll copy it now so I'll remember to link it. But you can go and read this in full to form your own opinions, of course. This is just me giving you some objective views on these things as we go through. But here, this part of this debate says, the impact assessment reveals the government policy to deal with the huge number of claims by accepting them, and to deal with the costs of hiding the numbers from the public in the welfare system. This is staggering. Listen to this. The Home Office admits that 63,053 illegal immigrants previously due to be deported will have their asylum claims heard instead, and up to 70 of them, that is 44,137 people, will be successful. But it also admits for those refused, the scale and timing of removals is highly uncertain, and that the Home Office may continue to support a number of them. So despite being refused, they'll continue to support them. But up to 70% of them are now going to be successful. Now, this is not, again, I stress, this is not to criticise those who are in genuine need of refuge, genuine need of help. This is about the transparency on what you are being told as the general British public, and the true costs of all of this, and the accountability. Remembering from the previous letter, Rupert Lowe digging for detail and being denied at every turn, being told to go and look it up himself. And when he does look it up himself and then ask specific questions, they say, well, we don't hold that data, and it'd be disproportionately costly to find it for you. This is being suggested as where some of it may actually be hidden. Now, it says these figures are just the beginning because they apply to only one cohort of migrants, with the duties of remove unlikely ever to be implemented by Labour. Unless the Minister corrects me by naming a start date, the Home Office admits its policy is expected to increase the number of asylum claims, which consequently increases costs. Instead of facing deportation, hundreds of thousands of migrants will stay here for good. The policy is to shift migrants from the Home Office budget, the costs of which are published clearly, to the welfare and local authority budgets, the costs of which are not published clearly. The impact assessment says any asylum seekers who are granted asylum will have full access to the welfare system. And local authorities will also incur costs, so lacking in transparency, this approach that the impact assessment says the Home Office has, not being able to establish a generally usable figure. That is obviously ridiculous, this says. We know from studies in Europe that the average Channel migrant will be a net lifetime recipient of public funding, not a contributor. In Danish government studies, immigrants from the Middle East, North Africa, Pakistan and Turkey were shown to cost a net 10,000 per year. A study at the University of Amsterdam concluded over a lifetime, the average asylum migrant cost the Dutch public more than 400,000. On that basis, for those granted asylum in just one cohort, the lifetime cost of Labour's policy is 17.8 billion, which is far more than the bogus 7 billion figure cited by the Home Secretary, which she said that the cost of duty remove policy. Hundreds of thousands more people will be claiming asylum here in the next 4 to 5 years. So the final cost of the new Labour policy will be many multiples more expensive than that. That is the reality of the government's illegal migration policy. More illegal migration, not less, and vastly higher costs, and for that we will pay the price. So this quite clearly suggesting that there are multiples of these costs, tens of billions of pounds, on top of those already cited as the actual costs, and much of it hidden, as is claimed here and averred here, within the welfare system. And just to reiterate that point here, just to make it absolutely clear, the policy, it is argued, is to shift migrants from the Home Office budget, the costs of which are published clearly, to the welfare and local authority budgets, the costs of which are not published clearly. So this, I dare say, is a very good argument that these costs are quite plainly being hidden among other budgets that are not published, that are not clear, that are not differentiated. And coming back to one of the opening points here, the starting principle of a functioning immigration system is that it has to work in the interest of the citizens of the country, and we must decide who comes here. Illegal immigration destroys the principle for all reasons set out by my honourable friend in his speech. That is why we must have no tolerance for the channel crossings, and why we need a policy that breaks the link between entering the country illegally and staying here for good thereafter. And so conclude again, and to reiterate Rupert Lowe's words here, we need a full, transparent breakdown of what is being spent on illegal migrants: taxis, healthcare, dentistry, translation, legal aid, cash, decoration, maintenance, recreation activities, and more. How many incidents with staff and locals, arrests? We deserve to know. And that is the closing point for this video. We deserve to know. And one of the reasons for these videos is to bring to you a lot of this information, to hopefully just to give you another take on it, give you another view on it, allow you to think about it objectively. I'm not, some people accuse me of being biased. If I would suggest to those people, this is not the vast majority of you, I understand I'm talking to the very, very few here, but I like to try to address everybody. To those that think that these are biased views, I suggest that you may think that because the statistics and the facts and the arguments here persuade you in one direction. And this is not to say that the past 14 years has been fantastic. The most common question I get, or the most common comment I get now is, where were you for the last 14 years? Well, for the vast majority of that, I wasn't making YouTube videos on this channel. This channel's been around for 4 or 5 years now. But for the first few years, it was exclusively non-political law. Now, make no mistake, everything politics, everything government based is all about law. It is all about law. This, whether it's immigration law, whether, whatever kind of law it is. But if something feels biased to you, when I'm quoting statistics, I'm quoting facts, and I'm quoting policies, and for example, I'm pointing out previous inconsistent statements, such as, there's a video coming later today, if I get the time to do it, Rachel Reeves, on the one hand, supporting the WASPI campaign, and then obviously now as Chancellor has refused it. So she's now in the position to be able to grant that money that she was campaigning for before, and she's now not doing it. How is that not a flip-flop? If I say that that is inconsistent, and that is obviously evidence that may lead you to believe that you can't trust what she says, if that is so, that doesn't make me biased. That makes her inconsistent. And if you feel that I'm biased because I'm pointing out inconsistencies, that's not on me. But as I say, I'm not speaking to the vast majority of you. The vast majority of you that watch this channel, I know that because I get tens upon tens of thousands of likes to the videos, 99 point something % positive every single time. I am very proud of that statistic. In fact, just a very quick screenshot here to prove my point. I like to come with the receipts, the deets and the receipts, as my learned friend Alan Robert Shaw of Art of Law, yes, it rhymes. I'll link him in the description below. Fantastic videos. I'm really pleased his channel's growing. He would say, these are just a few that I've grabbed. They're in order, and they're all like this. 21,000 likes, 99 point something % positive. 12,000, 99%, 13,000, 99%, 13,000, 99 point something percent. All very, very positive. So I thank you for liking the videos and doing that. That just pings YouTube to say that you enjoyed the video, as well as subscribing. My unsubscribed viewer count is going down, so please do subscribe to the channel. That helps me grow. I am hell-bent on getting to 1 million subscribers. So thank you for watching. Thank you for liking and subscribing and joining me for this video, and I'll see you next time.